Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another episode of the Freshman 15 College Football Podcast, Season 4, Episode 1. After a long layoff, we are back throughout all the festivities of the CFP and then some in the transfer portal. We are back once again to break down college football with week 0 around the corner with some marquee matchups and some storylines. So, as always, those that don't know, week 0, we take it real heavy on the content, on the projections of the season as far as awards go. And those that don't know, hit that like button, hit the sub button. You know where to find us on YouTube and wherever else we're at. For myself, LP Cruz, I'm bringing my man Tyler Moore to break it all down with me. Tyler, what's up, dude?
My brother in Christ, you were looking phenomenal. I am ready for the season. We are going to kick it off week 0 with a Big 12 matchup in Dublin. So it's kind of odd, but yeah, let's get this thing going.
Yeah, man. So let's not even bury the lead. So tonight, what we're going to do is we're going to go through our Saturday spotlight, the game in Dublin, Ireland, of course. We're going to go
hmm
through that. We're also going to go through our upset pick of the week, plus the season awards as far as the Heisman dark horse, and who takes home the crown this year after last season. So yeah, man, let me start off with that. So I know you and I are going to have the same games. I'm pretty sure. Small
Probably. Yeah.
slate. But let me go into this game in Ireland. And those that don't know, this game, since starting the podcast back in 2022, it's like a preamble to something bad. Like if you lose the game, like you're gonna get hurt later. So in
Yeah.
2022, Scott Frost lost to Northwestern. A few weeks later, he got fired. Last year was Florida State losing to Georgia Tech in Dublin, and they were awful last year. You were hitting me up on the ride back from the theme park, letting me know, hey, yo, this is getting kind of bad. You might want to check it out. So again, this game has drama like it does every single season, but I think based on where the teams are, they shouldn't have it shouldn't derail their years because if you look at their schedule and it's relatively light for now because they don't
Yeah.
play a ranked opponent until week 9 for both teams. So it shouldn't derail your season as a conference opponent. But either way, man, I mean it's a great game to watch. And I think the headliners are the quarterbacks between Avery Johnson and Rocco Becht. Avery Johnson is the guy that kind of came on last year as a dual threat quarterback. Still has a lot of work to do as a passer, but you could tell he has that it factor to him as far as running the football and how he sees
Mhm.
things. They lost a top player last year in the running back getting into the draft. However, they reloaded. They have 2 returning players and running backs, kind of that thunder lightning aspect of it, and they have a transfer from southeastern Louisiana that's got game. So they're kind of deep on that side. Now, also given the fact with them is defensively, their linebacker, Austin Romaine, is like a monster. Like at that conference, he's one of the, like the premier players in the conference. Now on the other side for Iowa State, I think their big like Achilles heel is their defense.
Mhm.
Pass rush was dead last year. They couldn't stop the run, and they got ate alive by Texas Tech at home in a game they should have won. That's been kind of catching them up. Plus, they lost 2 top receivers. Both of the Texans in the draft, believe it or not, like 2 top flight guys. And their quarterback he's good, but his peaks are here, but the
Oh
values are
yeah.
like down here. And they played last year, and he threw for under 40%, but somehow won. So that's kind of the storyline, I think, with these 2 teams. I'm going to save my pick for who wins after you go. But what's your take on this game, our Saturday spotlight?
Yeah, so to start it off, we know that the preseason rankings, a lot of these teams are like out of whack. So I think it's 22 versus 17. I think Kansas State is favored, I think, in this game. Quarterbacks, is, like you said, that's the marquee matchup. And I think they both were like 58 and 59 completion percentage last year.
Mhm.
Not great. So they're going to live and die by the quarterbacks.
Yeah, yeah.
And, we expect it to probably be a shootout, I would say. I know it's kind of hard to say that in week 1. I think the over-under is like 55 or something like that, but
Yeah.
it's Big 12. They don't play defense really, so I think it's going to go down to the quarterback, like you said. Beck, he was high and low all last year, and that's what it's going to come down to. Is the
Yeah,
quarterback.
I do think so. And I think really for me is when I look at the matchups, where it hurts Iowa State the most is inside. And they don't really have a presence inside. There's no run stopping, there's no edge rushers. It's just like, okay. And I think that the best group out of this team on K-State really is their interior. So again, stock shelf and running back, a dual threat runner, and you have no edge to kind of keep them honest in the passing game. It just speaks to them running the football over and over again. And again, not with those like, nibble here, nickel and dime type deals, but maybe like 15, 20, 30 yard runs here and
Yeah,
there. I think
chunk.
that, yeah, chunk plays. I think that's the advantage. So I would say I'm going to go with K-State just based on what they have and the returning players they have. But
Yeah,
again, it
absolutely.
shouldn't derail the season. It's a conference game in the first week of the season, not too big of a deal. Now, of course, we have our upset pick. You go first.
Yeah, I think I'm going to take Stanford over Hawaii. I don't know if you had that one. The spread is only like 2.5. So it's, but I was looking it up and I think his name is Gus Bradson. I think that's the quarterback's name. He's a 60-year player from Oregon State. He played 5 years at Oregon State, but he
Yeah.
was he was handpicked by Andrew Luck, who is the general manager of Stanford now. And I didn't notice until I looked today. Their coach right now is Frank Reich. So I mean, they have, they might have some NFL style offense. And the last time he played real meaningful snaps, he went 7-1 with the Beavers, and I think he was
Hmm.
like over 60% completion percentage. So I mean, at Stanford, they don't ask you to do much for throwing the ball, turn around, hand the ball off. But I mean, you're working with someone like Frank Reich, who is a quarterback guru for the most part, and then you working with Andrew Luck. I mean, that's gonna be the fun one to watch, and he's got so much experience. Like I said, this is his sixth year. I would take someone with that experience in a week 0 game, over
Great.
over a young team like Hawaii.
So, a couple aspects when it comes to Stanford that I don't think people have considered this. And usually you have these things happen, right? So, for example, just to kind of give people the backstory here, in season 4 of the podcast, they've been the upset pick or featured in that game every single time. Every
Mhm.
single year they've been featured. This is the first time, however, they've been favored. Never before they've been favored. And you would think, well, why is that? It goes back to the opponent. Stanford has a lot going on. Those that don't know, you would assume because of, and I think people have kind of turned a blind eye to Stanford since Shaw left, which is understandable, right? But they have a lot of things happening. First off, they have a general manager, which is like a new thing in college football, having a general manager.
Yeah,
Now you also have, Andrew Luck. I get alumni, legend, and understood. But Frank Reich is the interim coach. And that's weird. So you have a college head coach who's an interim coach, meaning nothing is permanent here. And
correct.
everything is kind of like a transition for them. They lost their quarterback, Ashton Daniels, from last year, a dual threat guy who's not there anymore. They lost their top receiver to the NFL, as expected. But you kind of get the sense that they're going to go back to the basics, pound the football, be Stanford football, what we do. And Frank Reich would be the guy, like you said, with the veteran quarterback. I will say this, so I think their backup quarterback, Elijah, is a better player to me. He has a higher upside to me. I think he's a higher touted prospect, but I think you're calling it right. You're picking experience versus the bird in the hand, worth two in the bush kind of thing. Like I kind of
Hmm.
understand what they're doing with that. But that being said, man, I look more so at Hawaii as well. And the reason why I think they would be favorites is because of out of all the organizational turmoil, they don't have that. Like, if you are a Hawaii fan, you're in Hawaii, Honolulu, you know what this is, right? Like, you
Yeah.
understand that we gave it all back to Timmy Chang. Like, they bought in like into the rebuild with Chang. The problem is though, you don't have a Timmy Chang under center. You don't have June Jones. You don't have Cole Brennan. It's very much, how do I explain this? And those that are into the, if you partake in this, the spread for Stanford to win by 6.5 is plus 280, believe it or not. So uh the whole thing being with that is I think it's because people just see that there's potential in what they're trying to do, and they're kind of more what's the word I'm looking for? They're more structured in their direction that they're going forward. There's more of an
Mhm.
organizational standard here as to where they're going versus Stanford is kind of up in the air. That being said, though, I mean, it's a power forward team. Like they have the resources, they have the players, the offensive line, they have the pass rushers.
Yeah.
Their quarterback, who I think, by the way, for Hawaii last year, he had a pretty nice run to close the season. He had 6 TDs, no picks, but he's very, very undersized. I think you're taller than he is and heavier. Like he's a really small guy, so I think that's part of the issue. And they didn't block anybody last year. I looked at the numbers with Hawaii; they blocked nobody last year. And looking at Stanford, they can rush the passer. So you have that going on. I think it's gonna be too much to handle. I think they're gonna get smoked. They're gonna get
Yeah.
smoked by like 10 points, in
Yeah,
my opinion.
it was weird because the odds are Hawaii 2.5. But then you looked at like the ESPN predictor and it had Stanford at 68% winning.
Woo!
So I was like, so I was
Ooh.
like, oh, okay, there's something up here. So then that's when I dive in and it's like, oh, okay, it's quarterback, Andrew Luck, Frank Reich and all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah, man. So again, if you like me, play the plus 285, them to cover the spread of 6.5 points. I just, like I said, you're having have-nots are exacerbated a lot by college football, them not being on the mainland, and a team that really has to kind of go from the bottom. They were 3-9 last year. Stanford, they had nowhere to go but up, and I think
right.
just change veteran leadership on both sides, Reich, Luck, and the quarterback. That should do wonders. So I'm going for Hawaii to lose, man. Wild
Yeah, I,
favorite.
I actually think this is like the weakest week 0 that we've had so far too. because the other ones were like Florida State, like you said. I mean, they were respectable team. I'm not saying Stanford's not respectable, but I think they were like heavier hitter games. But I know another game to watch if you're into it. Watch UNLV and New Mexico State. That could be a good
That
game
could be
too.
fun. And
Yeah.
their new coach is Dan Mullen.
Yes, sir.
Dan Mullen. So
Yep. Las
yeah,
Vegas.
I mean it is kind of weak because we had one year we had Notre Dame playing in Ireland as well. We
Yep.
had one week, man. I think LSU played in week zero or something like that too. As a matter of fact, against Florida State, if I'm not mistaken, something
Yeah.
like that.
I don't know, but I think they've always been week one. I think the week zero was Florida State, Notre Dame, and yeah, then they have this one. So I mean, it is what it is, but it's still
I
a
think it,
Big 12 marquee matchup, if that's what you want to call Big 12.
yeah. So speaking of storylines, man, I want to kind of break down like we normally do. So every time in our first episode of the season, we talk about the Heisman hopefuls, the dark horses, and who wins the national championship.
Yeah.
So per FanDuel Sportsbook, should be a sponsor of our show. Per per them as follows: the top five candidates for the Heisman are Arch Manning plus 700, Gary Nussmeier plus 800, Kate Klubnik plus 900, Jeremiah Smith. Crazy to think about that, but
Yeah.
doable. Plus 1,300, and then Drew Aller, who I think is a favorite of the show, at plus 1,600. Out of these top five candidates, who do you feel best about winning the award?
Cade Klubnik.
Damn, come on, man.
Yeah, just so
Come
people know,
on.
we don't talk about this kind of stuff before. He just gives me the topics and we just go. But yeah, it's gonna be Cade because
Dang, man.
last year at the end of the year he came on pretty strong. And the writers and storytellers for college football they have a hard on for Dabo Sweeney. I do not like him personally, but it's just and we've always said that Dabo only goes as far as his best players, and every time he has a really good quarterback, that's when he takes his team far. And Cade Klubnik, he's not just a quarterback; he's an athlete. He's a very good athlete. So I think out of all of them, I think he has the biggest chance out of those guys because I mean Nussmeier, he can make every throw. He's not afraid to make every throw. But that costs
Hmm.
that can
Hmm.
cost him quite a bit. And he's got the name. His dad's an NFL coach, and then obviously we have
Yeah.
Arch, the pedigree. He's got the dual
Yeah.
threat, the big body, whatnot. And he plays at like a premier blue blood college, but we haven't really
That's
seen
it.
too much out of him. We've seen like what 4 games, and they were like partial, whatnot. So I
Yeah.
mean, he gets that test next week. We'll get into that next week. But and I've always liked Drew Aller since he was a freshman. I think
Yeah.
he's got the short end of the stick playing at Penn State. If he plays somewhere else, I think that he goes in the draft last year and is the number one quarterback taken. But it's just the fact that I just still don't think they have any wide receivers. They get Jim Knowles instantly from Ohio State after the national championship because that was kind of weird. And then you bring back your two running backs who are probably top three in the nation for a tandem, and then you bring back Drew Aller. So I mean, it's all set up for him. Do you trust that coach?
Mm. I think okay. So I like Aller. I like a lot of his potential. I do think had Aller gone in the draft, he would have been a first round pick.
Hmm.
I would say around the range that took Jackson Dart, late first round pick. The team trading up to get him in the back of the first round. I think he's got the potential. He's got a lot of and I think even he's more elusive than people give him credit for as well.
Hmm.
He's a sneaky athlete, but he's got great arm talent. He makes good decisions. The problem is that he doesn't have his premier tight end anymore, and the receivers we don't really know about. Plus, I think the running backs take away from what he does. Plus, that defense is so just talented that you focus on them being more a run dominant team by extension and by Franklin because Franklin doesn't even trust himself. So
Yeah.
takes away from Aller, unfortunately. But Kate Klubnik, yeah, that's my guy 100%. And we gave Dabo a lot of crap for how they were playing last season, especially like going to the games against Pitt, is where it all kind of flipped. Like
Hmm.
that Pitt game from him, Klubnik was incredible, man. That big run that kind of won the game, the 50-yard run that we talked about ad nauseum. That was the kind of the big thing. And I think even to close the season, they lost to Louisville. That's when we started like to get the joke time in. But from that game after the loss, he went 17 and 3, 17 TDs, 3 picks. Like he went clean football, got him back into the CFP, and they lost to Texas, which is understandable. I get it. And then their former recruit from last year, their 5-star, TJ Moore, I think is going to be a big time player this year as well. And then you have Williams is back too. So you have your top target. And plus, man, they'll always get running backs, man. I believe they have a 4-star recruit that came in. I think Gideon Davidson or something like that. Like he's like a
Hmm.
top recruit freshman. So you have that. You got the freshman running back. You have the receivers. You have him as a talent. You have Clemson, man. They're still Clemson.
Yeah.
Ain't gotta like them, but they're still Clemson. So I think he has just everything in front of him to prove it. Plus, he'll get his get back against SMU as well. So he should be able to see like the top of the conference, the end of the game later in the season against another player we're gonna talk about, man. This should be a segue.
Yeah.
So again, we don't have these talks before, but I figured out who your dark horse was, unfortunately, and it's mine too. So you got this, man. Who was your Heisman dark horse candidate?
So there's a couple of them here. I think DJ
Thank you.
Lagway is getting pumped up quite a bit, being at Florida. He's a dual threat quarterback at Florida, but
Hmm.
no
Hmm.
one even compares to Lenoris Sellers here. I mean, we talk about he had a kind of shaky first half of the season, and they lulled
Yeah,
out in the middle, and then he took off in November. And they were electric, and I give a lot of that to Shane Beamer. I love Shane Beamer as a coach.
me too.
Um, but let's see here. I got these stats on because I did not want to mess them up. He went 5-0 in November, late season surge, 8.5 yards per attempt, and 17th ranked by QB rating at 151.9 as a redshirted freshman last year. And he is the dual athlete. And the reason why, I mean, we've seen him play those big games, but their schedule lines up, and we always say that big moments make for big players. LSU, Clemson, shootout in Ole Miss and Bama. I mean, if he performs well in there and they win a
It's
couple,
all stacked up.
three of those 4 games, and they're ranked in the say top 10, top 12, he might get a chance to win the Heisman there. But he is dual athlete. He's fun to watch, and it's funny because he doesn't when he takes that helmet off, he doesn't look like he doesn't look like an athlete, but he is absolutely fun to watch. He's like Urkel, baby.
Those who have seen Sunset Park, think of Devondre Bonds in Sunset Park. That look with the glasses. That's Lenora Sellers.
Yeah.
And just to make sure I got all my notes right, I was thinking about it like heavy, like who would be a dark horse favorite for me, and I just thought about the run with Beamer last year. Beamer, I do think he's one of the better coaches. He's put out some good players too.
Yep.
It's all about for me when it comes to these awards. It's about opportunity as well, and they lost a lot. Again, I'll say it's a lot, but you got to replace talent. And what made this team good to turn around not only Sellers as a redshirt freshman, but also the defense. You lost a lot of players to the NFL draft. You lost Hemingway. You lost Emma Lenore, your safety, who's a top safety in the draft. You lost so many pieces at your first, second, and third level of your defense that they got to take a step back. But that means you got to put more on the plate of a redshirt sophomore. So that kind of leads into that. What else is he going to do? And while I know that the stats aren't eye popping for a redshirt freshman, that's still pretty good though, if you think
Hmm.
about it, given what happened. He starts to cut down his turnovers too. The ratio isn't that great, but they have one player that we always talk about, as like the next man up, and that's Nick Harbor. If Nick Harbor can kind of find that consistency as a prospect, because this guy's picture a guy who's 6'5", 230, runs like a deer. And I mean, really, he runs like a deer. He has everything you want in a prospect. He is the super shredder as a prospect, but still hasn't put it together. If he finds that layer of consistency as a prospect, now you have a dual threat runner with a deep threat, a certified jump ball deep threat. Anytime he plays receiver, then it heightens his profile. Plus, think about who he plays on the schedule. You mentioned it before, but LSU with the Heisman candidate, they'll play against Clemson, Heisman
Heisman
candidate
candidate.
player.
Yep.
Like it's a lot going on. He to cue Ric Flair, man. To be the man, you got to beat the man. Now you can do it. So I
Yeah.
think that's where it all lies for him. Plus, I think even already, man, he might be looked at as maybe a draftable quarterback too. Like I've heard those rumors as well. So it's
Yep.
yeah, man. I mean, he could definitely elevate his whole profile by just having a monster year in a monster conference.
Yeah, I think there's some people that we would be forgetting if we be remiss if we didn't talk about them. You said Jeremiah Smith could be a possible Heisman. He's a Heisman hopeful. Same thing with
Hmm.
Ryan Williams. I mean, he's a very good receiver. I think in this draft, I mean, this season there's just so many good quarterbacks that are going to be coming out of this season into the draft next year. So
Hmm.
if you're big into that, you're going to have Carson Beck, you're going to have Nussmeier, you're going to have I don't know if Arch is going, but you're gonna, there's that possibility. Drew Aller, all those guys. This is gonna be loaded for like top tier talent for next year's NFL draft. So this is gonna be like it is top loaded for quarterbacks that are ready to go to the league. So it should be a really fun year.
Researching that, yeah, man. But that leads into our last point. Who wins the national championship? And please don't pick the same team.
No,
But
man, I'm putting the halt on this real quick because these I touched on it earlier about the preseason rankings, but they have
mhm.
I think Penn State has the highest chance to win the national championship this year, and they and James
Uh-huh.
Franklin, I would not trust him as far as I could throw him. He is 4-20 versus top 10 teams, 4-20. So you think if they make the playoffs, he is going to win 3 straight games against top 10 teams?
Never done it.
Okay, so look what Ohio State did last year. Do you trust James Franklin to do that?
You guys had
Absolutely.
Oregon?
They had an absolute cakewalk in their playoffs last year. They had Boise State, and then they had what was the other who did they play after Boise State? It was
Boise? They did see you guys, right?
no, they
They
did not. It
did
was
see you guys.
I'm
It
trying to
was
think of that other. It wasn't Arizona State. It was
Texas?
no, it wasn't Texas. I can't remember who I
Oh
can't
my
remember who it
goodness.
was.
Not Oregon?
No, it wasn't. We had Oregon. We had
Oh
yeah.
my
What was it?
goodness.
So
But
God,
Penn
who
State
was it?
got to the no, Notre Dame got him.
Yeah,
Notre
but
Dame got him.
yeah.
Notre Dame got him. And they should have won the game. They should have won the
Yeah.
game.
So you look at Penn State, they had Boise State, they had Notre Dame who didn't basically didn't have a quarterback. All you had to do
Hmm.
was just all you had to do was just run the ball. And
Yeah.
then so and he's 4-20 against top 10 teams. And there's no way he does that. And like I said, I would not trust James Franklin as far as I could throw him. They don't build around the quarterback. They give him 2 wide receivers and they bring in Jim Knowles, say, hey, play some better defense, even though we were the top defense last year. And we got shredded by everybody we absolutely played.
Redundant, man.
So it's just ridiculous. But if you want to lead into that, I think the national championship game, if everything plays out correctly, is going to be Clemson versus Ohio State. And I think I might give that one to
Ooh.
Clemson.
You think?
Yeah.
Now, is the quarterback the reason why?
Yes.
I'm listening. Okay. Okay. So I was thinking to myself of who it would be. And for me, I think it's Texas. I think it's Texas. I think with them, even losing talent to the NFL, they're so loaded, and they've been able just to have so much talent on their own team. You look at like they lose Jadon Blue, but you still have Quintrevion Wisner. You have Arch Manning. You have the
Yeah.
receivers. You have Wingo, who I think is going to be a great player without Golden. I think they have so much there, so much talent still. Kobe Black's a good player. Like I think they're ready. And also, man, not for nothing. I kind of equate Texas this year where Ryan Day's been for so many years, right? Like the monkey on his back. You know, we've covered Sarkisian for years. We've covered like his whole history of his struggles off the field and just
Yeah.
his transition through Washington and USC. But when you kind of follow him, and shout to Pat, by the way, gives us a lot of good insight. Pat, for friend of the show, you can kind of tell that he's comfortable now. Like he's found himself a home in Texas, and all the pieces are kind of starting to kind of line up, starting to kind of lock in place. I think that's what it is. It's the consistency. It's the program. It's the recruiting. I just think it's their time, man. I just think it's Texas' time. They've been close. Even when they lost to Washington, they've been close. They've been very, very close. I think it's time. I think this time we see Texas get it done.
Yeah, that's not a bad pick. I didn't look at their schedule, so I'm not sure exactly who they match up against, but you always have Clemson and the ACC. The ACC's been down. So they are the powerhouse. Like I said, I do not see Florida State being any good again this year. So that's why I say I would pick Clemson because
Castellanos,
what's that?
Castellanos, not enough for you.
Yeah, so I just see Clemson, them not like cakewalking through there. They're gonna have their struggles, they always do. But having a lighter schedule set up for you gives you like the committee's going to see that and they say, okay, we're going to place them here. So then that first they may get a bye or they may get a more favorable matchup, and that's gonna set them up for success. But I mean, if they come in at like the 5, 6, 7, that's the hard seats because those guys are like one,
Nowhere to
those guys
go.
are like 2, 3 in their conference, and that's when it gets hard. But I think they'll be one of the top teams this year, and because like I said, the light schedule, the quarterback is good, and their defense is always solid. So I think as much as it pains me to say that, I think it could be Clemson again this year. They're on
So
the
you
up
know
and up.
what's so I was looking at a team and I had to talk myself out of it. And I was feeling really good about him. I was like, well, maybe only because they've done a good job recruiting, and they always do. They recruit well. They're a team, and I guess I'll give you a bit of a teaser here, but they're a team that they're built to win in the trenches. And even though they get a lot of, I guess what's the word, appeal, or they get a lot of screen time for being a flashy team or a team that's really flashy and athletic, they're built to win from the inside out, and that's actually Oregon. I thought about Oregon too, but the reason why I can't put them in that bubble is I don't know what exactly got going on with Dante Moore. I'm not sure. I know he's talented. I know he's a 5 star. That was with Chip Kelly. Did he play? I think he played way too soon. Like I think he went out there way too soon before he was ready to play, and he looked pretty bad. And he's been kind of hiding behind, just learning behind Dylan Gabriel. I won't say hiding, but learning behind Dylan Gabriel. I don't know if he can live up to that standard of Bo Nix, Dylan Gabriel, guys that had plenty of experience before they got to where they were. Like
Yeah.
Bo Nix was like you said, like a fifth year senior, 6 year senior. Like he's been around the block. Dylan Gabriel has been like a fourth year or fifth year guy, but he
Yep.
played well wherever he was at, even at UCF. I think with Dante Moore, I don't know if he's ready to take him to that next step for a championship. I think their quarterback is what's holding back Oregon. Tough as it sounds, man. I think that's what's like, nah, can't pick the Ducks. They're good though. They're good, but I can't pick the Ducks.
How do you feel about a team like Notre Dame?
Um,
They
I
just switched
would,
their quarterback. Jeremiah Love's still there, that awesome running back that they have. So I mean, they still got their tight end. So it's
they always
and
got tight ends.
what's that?
They always got tight ends. They
Yeah,
always got
yeah.
tight ends.
And linebackers. I mean, Notre Dame
And
linebackers.
safeties and safeties. I feel better about them because Jeremiah Love. That's why. If it wasn't for Jeremiah Love, I don't know if Oregon has a running back of that caliber that could even touch Jeremiah Love, if that makes sense. Jeremiah Love, I think, is he your top guy in the country?
Yeah, he's got to be like top three. Yeah, he's definitely
Top
up
guy in the
there.
country.
Yeah.
Yeah, even like in while we're shooting the bit here, man. Even other guys I would set for the Heisman dark horse. For some
Yeah.
reason, man, on my radar was Marcel Reed. I was like, "Yo, you're gonna pick Marcel Reed." I was thinking about that too. Like, don't take Marcel Reed, but Marcel Reed, I think also it was A&M, only because they have a good running.
I don't know, man.
Yeah,
That was so flashy last year. Like it was hit or miss with him.
I know, I get it. But year two, he's got more
Yeah, yeah,
experience where
you
he's
get a whole
at.
off season. Yeah, yeah.
Le'Veon Moss, there's no Wigman in the way. Like, just just a thought. Just a thought. Not as good as Sellers, no, but just a thought, man. But other than that, dude, any final thoughts?
No, man. It like I said, it's a light week, but I think this is like the preamble for next week. Uh, so and
Start getting nervous.
I'm already sweating that one. Yeah, dude, I'm definitely sweating that one because rolling in with a redshirt freshman and a new defensive coordinator who I don't necessarily like. We'll talk about that more the next week, but yeah, I mean, the noon game, it's a Big 12 matchup. If you're gonna like some high scoring football, go ahead and turn it on. It's on ESPN, and yeah, just enjoy it because football's finally
Uh,
back for the next let's see here 6 months. So
Sounds good to me, man. But yep, but for my dude, Tyler Moore, I'm LP Cruz. This has been the Freshman 15 College Football Podcast. Peace.
peace.